Shxrk and T3eny just caused absolute chaos in the FNCS heats, but are their chances of winning FNCS officially over? Today I'm analysing Heat 1, discussing the 15 duos that qualified for Grands, as well as the big names that struggled. Let's get straight into it. So let's start off by talking about Shxrk and T3eny, because it was a very interesting day for them. They did perform pretty well. They managed 2 second places, and honestly in one of those I'm sure they could have got the win, but they didn't because they wanted more practice. They looked great throughout the whole tournament. They were first and second for damage, for eliminations, for assists. They were by far the most explosive team in the lobby. However, one thing did happen that meant that even though they were first for consistency, today was a little bit of a disappointment, and that is of course Hutty and Shxrk managing to win a game and qualify, meaning that they will be contested over at Wonky Land in Grand Finals. Now Hutty and Shxrk have been landing at Wonky Land for quite a while now. They are no stranger to a spawn fight against Shxrk and T3eny. It was interesting in this tournament. In game 1 they actually completely split the POI, and of course Shxrk and T3eny came second and Hutty and Shxrk came 7th in that game, so it did actually work out. In game 2 T3eny did die off spawn and Hutty and Shxrk won that game, so we didn't get to see any more spawn fights from there. The question that we have to ask is that now that they are contested in finals, does that mean they can no longer win FNCS? And honestly I'm kind of leaning towards yes. I'll caveat that by saying that Shxrk and T3eny are such a crazy duo, and if anyone can win FNCS while contested, it is them. They did of course beat Hutty and Shxrk 6-0 in a divisional cup earlier in the year, so we have seen that they can dominate off spawn, but across 12 games in FNCS that's very difficult to replicate. I've seen a lot of people saying that they could just split Wonky Land in every game and both do well, and whilst I think that's a good idea on paper, and yes Shxrk and T3eny could win from splitting that POI every game, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think there's any world in which they don't fight in a few of the games, especially if one of the teams is doing way better than the other. I think there's going to be a bit of griefing that comes out, so this whole splitting thing, I just don't see it happening. Look, Shxrk and T3eny could win a bunch of the off spawns, look really good in the tournament, and still have a chance of winning FNCS, but it's fair to say that their odds have been drastically slashed. But look, Shxrk and T3eny have got the job done. They have made Grand Finals. Yes, they'll be annoyed that they let Hutty and Shxrk slip through, but they did make up for that later in the tournament by fighting some of the teams that land near them, and that's what I'm going to get into now, because we need to talk about Vico and Malibuca. So this is one of the big stories of the heats. Vico and Malibuca did not qualify for the Grand Finals. They were only one place off, but for a team of their quality, they should have got through very comfortably. Now, they did have some bad luck. Malibuca didn't get into game 4, so Vico had to play that out as a solo. And then in game 5, this is where it gets controversial, because they got keyed by Shxrk and T3eny, and it got very heated after that. Vico was not happy. Shxrk did try to justify his decision, stating that it made sense for him to take out one of the best teams in the lobby and try and stop them from qualifying for Grands, which that logic does make sense. I do think it's fair enough that if you qualify early, if you get a lot of points in the early games like Shxrk and T3eny did, then you can try and stop some of the other teams from qualifying. Obviously he did that with Pinq as well, which I'm going to get into in a minute, but that has caused a lot of controversy, and at the end of the day it's fair enough that Vico and Malibuca will be frustrated, because had they not died there, they probably would have been able to play out the end game and they probably would have qualified. So what's the future looking like for Vico and Malibuca? Well, they do still have a chance of making Grand Finals if they win a game in LCQ. They just need to get top 50 in opens and then win one of the 5 games, and honestly I think they have a very good shot at it. In my opinion, they are the favourites to go through in that round, and I still think we're going to be seeing them in Grand Finals. Of course, if they fail to make this Grand, they won't be able to qualify for the Summit Land, and we won't be seeing them in Dusseldorf, so the stakes are very high at the moment. Now, another big duo that didn't qualify was Pinq and Seyyto. Now, they land at the Western Slow Split near Wonky Land, and ultimately that was their undoing. They were tagging up Shxrk and T3eny a lot. Shxrk and T3eny ended up getting tired of it, and they keyed them in games 3 and 4, which led to them going down twice, ending their hopes of qualification. Listen, this is just like the situation with Vico and Malibuca. Shxrk and T3eny got a lot of points early on in the day and were then able to key teams that were a threat to them later on. They won't want Pinq and Seyyto landing there in the Grand Finals because they simply don't want people tagging them out of the sky, interfering with their strategy, so it makes a lot of sense to be targeting this team. So an unfortunate day for Pinq and Seyyto. Had they not been keyed in those 2 games, I'm sure they could have found a way to qualify, but that's Fortnite for you. One team that did qualify was the Spanish duo of Adriaht and Vegeta. Definitely a team that I did not have on my list to qualify. If you didn't see, Adriaht was playing in Division 5, back in February of this year. So this is an absolutely meteoric rise to the top. I hope he's a legitimate player, but if he is, then this is a crazy achievement. He tweeted this video of him playing at his setup. I don't know where he is here. Looks like he's playing in a GTA 5 garage or something, but fair play to him. He got the job done and they did look good throughout the tournament. We will be seeing them in grand finals. In terms of all the other teams that qualified, let's just go over them all now. The first game was won by Focus and Thomas HD, continuing their perfect run in FNCS. They of course won the play-ins round. They've now qualified the heats in one game. They are literally doing the best they can. They were first and second for damage ratio as well. I know it's a small sample size, but these guys are looking primed up ahead of grands. Hutty and Fishy X won game 2. As I already mentioned, they will be contesting Wonky Land in finals. We had iDrop and Marius win game 3. They're a team that were always going to win a game. It remains to be seen if they'll be able to keep Squibbly Shores uncontested. I know Tayson and Ghost and Fredoxy and Sanguild will both want to land there if they qualify, so we'll see how that evolves. Cammy and Hari won game 4, no shocks there. And Kyrie and Kocherich won game 5, credit to them. In terms of the other qualifiers, we of course had Shxrk T3eny. We then had King, Cringe and Twy, a super consistent team. It's drop spot dependent, but I genuinely think that they could qualify for the Summit Land. They are at that level, top 20 teams in grand finals. I think that could be very possible. We had Twek and Mydro make it. They're continuing their good form from the Eval Cup the other day. They'll be landing up in that northwest corner of the map for grands, which has of course been completely changed in the new update. We had Lunex and Wolvax make it as well, credit to them. Joshbot and Nero made it, a very underrated UK team. We had Cringe and Volko. From Uncom mid-map, I would have expected them to qualify. I think it would have been a bit concerning if they didn't, because that spot is so good, but they have made it. Yerdy and Ziffy, another Dutch duo qualifying. It feels like 2020 again with the amount of Dutch teams. We had Pixovsky and Seren. I mean, they've been super consistent throughout this chapter as a whole, so no shocks to see them making grands. And finally, Yapko and Panzer, and at one point it looked very ropey. They left it until the last game to sneak into that final qualification spot. For a team of their quality, this should have been way more comfortable. They shouldn't have been fighting until the final game. They haven't really looked too strong since their Divisional Cup win, which was quite a few weeks ago now, so gonna need to see a bit of an upturn in performances in time for grand finals. Now, we did have a bunch of big names miss out. Of course, I've mentioned Vico and Pinq already. Wheat and the Frizzy won't be in finals. They narrowly missed out, coming 2 places off qualification. Truly and Zynox also struggled. They were contested in the finals. They've been super consistent this chapter as a whole, making 8 out of 8 Divisional Cups, but ultimately when it came to these heats, they just got dealt a bad hand. Let's see if they can recover in the LCQ. We also had Prism and Casper not make it. They weren't particularly close to qualifying either. A pretty disappointing day for them. And here's a quick look at the finals map as it stands. As you can see, only 1 POI contested, and that is of course Wonky Land. Plenty of space on the map. We'll see how it evolves over the next few days with 2 heats still left to be played. I also want to briefly talk about Thursday's Evaluation Cup. We'll go over the teams that won games. We had Focus and Thomas HD win game 1. They are of course in incredible form. We had Sky and Scroll win game 2, and they dominated the Osarion leaderboards. Sky had the most damage, Scroll had the most eliminations, looking super explosive just in time for heats. We had Pixovsky and Seren win game 3. I spoke about them earlier, a super consistent team, one that always seems to make it to the end game no matter what happens. And Prism and Casper won game 4, but they weren't able to replicate that in the heats. I'll be making videos like this for heats 2 and 3 as well, so subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.